wisdom during this meeting. Help us to glorify you. It's in your son Jesus' name we pray. Amen. You no comment?
No, sir.
First thing on the approval of minutes from April 19th, 2023 school committee meeting.
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented.
Next item is dedication of private infrastructure and easements. Mr. Thomas.
All right, I'll let Ms. Janice pull up the item here.
You can't see the little.
Oh, just do it from the laptop. It'll be quicker.
I do what?
It'd be quicker if you can pull it from there. Pull up Edge.
Edge?
Yeah. I'm sorry. We go to the website.
Oh, we're getting there. Okay.
I got you.
There we go.
Oh, okay. We go commissioners, and this is the part one. There we go. All right, Commissioners, this is easement and infrastructure dedications. There's 5 items on this agenda item here, and I will give you a brief description of each item, as well as a location, and if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer. All right, item number 1 is 235 Kingsway Gravity Sewer, dedication of infrastructure. The homeowner needed to extend sewer service to their property, so they facilitated that improvement at their expense. And St. Simon's Island, right off of Kingsway and Bartow Street. And as it's shown in orange here, as proposed, if accepted as public infrastructure, we will then turn it green, indicating it's publicly owned. And right now, it's just this home here that's tying in. 235 Kingsway.
What's that line, sir?
It's a 6-inch sewer lateral.
How many manholes?
These are clean outs that go, yeah, they're the fittings are represented by clean outs, but it ties it directly into a manhole on Magnolia.
The houses on the other side of the street, on the street?
Yes, sir, what this will do is it will open up sewer connections for the home across Bartow Street. They're currently on water. I believe it's water only. So it will at least give it 1 or 2 other connections to make available with gravity sewer. Okay. Next item is St.
Can I
Francis.
ask one question?
Yes, sir.
So the homeowner paid for the installation of it.
That is correct.
We inspected it was contracted with a local contractor, or? Okay.
Commissioner, you're correct. The homeowner went, at their expense, they installed this improvement. It was actually designed, they hired a local engineer to design, present that to Joint Water. It was an internal review only. We reviewed it to make sure it met standards, current Joint Water standards. It was inspected by our inspectors as it was put installed, and meets our standards for sure.
And are we usually there when they do the final tie-in to our system?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So we were there for the tie-in, the core into the existing manhole, and then also for the connection for the home to the lower clean-out.
So if another one of the houses in that area wanted to tie in, they could just tie into the one that's been put in there, right?
That's correct, and that's one of the reasons. If it's within public right-of-way, Glynn County will require the joint water to assume ownership of it.
Right, yeah.
Being within the public right-of-way. But yes, the benefit to the ratepayers is that this also opens up future connections
Right.
along the way as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
And that house top couldn't tie onto that manhole 2003 in Kingsway.
There
I think permitting to cut Kings Way was going to be a challenge.
would have been
It looks like it's on this side of the street.
so I'll turn the ortho on here, the imagery, so we can check this out. Well, that doesn't help. Very much the trees, the beautiful trees, kind of obscure the view. But anyway, on the other side of Kings Way, there is a manhole. It's an end-of-line manhole.
The other side.
It's on the other side of Kings Way that they would have either had to bore or cut Kings Way, and I think it was prohibitive as far as right-of-way permitting for them to get that approved.
Not to mention cost.
Yes, sir. Exactly. Okay. Thank you.
Just for my curiosity, on a project like that, what would be the ballpark of cost for something like that for the homeowner?
So for the homeowner, the value that they provided us was $12,910.
Okay,
Yeah, as constructed.
okay, thank you.
And then we will, very good question, then we will capitalize that. It'll be added to our inventory as an asset.
And they pay a sewer tax fee also.
Correct, yes, sir.
In addition to that.
In addition to, yes. Okay. Next, second of 5 items for dedication is St. Francis Xavier School within the city of Brunswick off of House Street. And it doesn't show on the county's GIS site yet on the ortho photo, but St. Francis Xavier purchased these lots at the corner of Bay and House Street. And their new school facility exists there now. So as part of that project, they needed water service to that location for fire protection as well as potable use. And we partnered with them to help them extend their water to the new facility. But we partnered with them in the way of we provided the 12-inch material. They were going to have to install 4-inch material for their needs, 4 or 6-inch for their needs. We said, if you're going to go ahead and do this, we'll provide you the material. That's what we, Joint Water contributed. They installed it, and that helped us get a little another piece of our Bay Street 12-inch water main replacement accomplished at the same time. So this is the dedication. We did provide the materials, but this is the dedication of the infrastructure since they installed it. Went to that expense. All within public right-of-ways. So it is a dedication of infrastructure. They valued it $89,300.
Where's that on?
So it doesn't show up yet. Once, if the board chooses to accept it as public infrastructure, we'll add it to GIS. But right now, it doesn't show. But the main comes this way and then goes up here and then ties into their connections there. But it's stubbed out for future connection up Grant Street, and then also back to House Street.
You put a hydrant up there at the intersection of the 2 roads.
Yes, sir. There's fire protection, I believe yes, they did add one. There's a new fire hydrant here. Okay, all right. Number 3 of 5 is Tanglewood Phase 2B, residential subdivision on the northern area of Glynn County. I will turn off the imagery for a little bit of clarity here. So this is off of State Route 99, directly across from Southern Pines Mobile Home Park, Tanglewood subdivision. And this is for Phase 2B, which is this area here.
Are these single-family homes?
These are single-family homes,
What size lots?
quarter-acre lots. So they're on both water and sewer out here. And this development has brought us this phase, just this phase, 39 additional new connections. developer-driven, developer installed, and now their intent is to dedicate that to public ownership.
Gravity
Gravity
sewers,
sewers,
what size?
8-inch.
The homes are not built yet there, right?
Oh, yes.
They are built, okay. I didn't know, I was around that area and I just didn't know which phase they were on.
Right,
You know.
there, you'll see, yeah, they're indicated here with structures.
Mhm.
They're very aggressive in their building,
Okay.
schedule, the vertical schedule with this, so. We've already got meters set, new customers connected out there. All right, and just as a side note, if the board does choose to accept as public infrastructure, that will begin the 2-year warranty phase for the infrastructure as well. So that actually came into play with one we'll talk about here in just a second this morning. So the developer's responsible for any repairs, warranty items for 2 years after we accept it as public infrastructure.
2 years industry standard?
Yes, sir.
And how is that, I guess, repair can be somewhat subjective, granted, it's not perfectly subjective, but how much leeway do we have to enforce what we believe needs to be fixed versus how much is there subjectivity for them to say, I think that's fine?
Very good question. I would think we'd evaluate, say if it was a failure due to installation or materials, a rolled gasket or, a fitting came loose, something like that.
For example, if something settles,
Mhm.
settling can be very subjective. I mean, you got substantial settling that really
Right.
creates an issue, then you've got settling that is so minor that everybody, that maybe not everybody, but some people might say, oh, that's fine, we're not fixing that. We're not going through the expense of fixing that because it, only settled making something up a quarter of an inch. So I mean, what threshold, who is the person that gets to decide whether this can be fixed?
Mhm.
Do our documents say, you will fix it to joint water sewer, standards and as described by us, or do they, is there a mediator, how does that, I'm just curious, has that ever come up?
Honestly, I can't recall a time that that's come up, something subjective like that, but that's a very good question.
We run into warranty things sometimes that are,
Yeah.
say, hey, this needs to be repaired, and they're like, nothing wrong with it, that's just average wear and tear, it's not actually broken.
Mhm.
Well, I think it is, well, I think it is.
Some of your home builders are famous, well, pop outs, yeah. Something, personal experience in drywall, nail pop outs, oh, well, that's normal, that happens, so that's not really a warranty thing. So, yeah, there is a lot of subjectivity that can be in there. Good question. I think what we look for is if it's most times, we haven't had an issue with the original applicant or developer repairing. Most times it's something where maybe a fitting has come loose or, a leak in a manhole, that type of thing. If we catch it and we're diligent on tracking that warranty period before it expires, most times out of not, we haven't had any issues with developers come back in. But fair question, we'll look into that, see if we can develop a
You listen to the meters also,
threshold.
they furnish the meters also,
They paid for the meters. We installed them.
they pay for the meters, do we install them or do they?
We installed them. We installed them. All the new connections we do. I assume they are, yes, sir. When these would have been ordered, they would have been after we started the meter project.
They pay water and sewer for each one of these.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely, that's right. Okay. All right, so 39 new customers with Tanglewood Development. Next project is Walker Point, just down the road a little ways. And Walker Point is being developed on the former site of Coastal Pines Golf Course, the property out there. And this first phase, phase 1 of Walker Point, is bringing us 105 new customers, new customer connections. And this is also water and sewer infrastructure to be dedicated.
For all these linear feet, do we have a standard cost per linear feet that we allow them to do, or do we allow them to say, hey, this is what we believe the value of this?
We compare it to what we've seen. We track values, tables of values for bid projects and things. We do compare it to that. We don't necessarily.
As long as it's reasonable. we
Yeah, if
don't-
it's reasonable, we don't necessarily dispute, if it's a few dollars off here and there. As long as it looks reasonable, we allow the engineer of record to declare the value. It's in it, when they're declaring the value, they're basing that on the actual cost to the developer. So
Are these townhouses?
these are, I call them brownstones, sort of, but yeah, they're small townhome style.
Right.
And they have immediately rolled into phase 2.
And I assume these are different size pipe. The reason I asked, I mean, these were like, you know, the one that, the linear foot cost at Walker Point is significantly higher than the linear foot cost at Ridge Enterprises.
Mhm.
Just for the water line.
I didn't do one of them.
Just the water line.
Actually, both of them. Actually, the sewer's even worse,
Mhm.
even further off. So I didn't know, I mean, they're probably different size pipes, right? I was just curious if we had like a reasonable range for 6-inch pipe.
Yeah, I mean, it could be different size pipe. Depth on the sewer can have a big impact on installation. You know, there's a lot of factors in there.
Yeah, there definitely will be some differences in the pricing amongst projects, but
Do they give us their receipts on what they cost? Or they gonna tell us what it is?
we accept the document that we have, the form of the document with the engineer records and the developer signatures on them, so we don't request any backup documentation, receipts.
And so that goes in, accounting.
It goes, yes, into contributed capital, sure, for infrastructure.
So we use a ballpark number that the contract gives us, not the actual cost.
The engineer record, we assume when they sign their signature and they're certified with their licensing that they are accurate, yes. We depend on them to do that.
Yeah, I was just curious if there was some range for, 8 inches this, 10 foot this.
3 years ago, I could have told you a range. Today, who knows?
Well, I mean, these are different.
Pricing, yeah, and that's where it gets hard. It would be hard to dispute pricing because we don't know when they order materials.
Just don't wanna put a bunch of stuff on our books that's unfairly calculated, I mean.
Absolutely.
And if,
Yeah.
one contractor says a foot, then, a foot, or not foot, but, legally 25% off, and granted, they're probably different pipe sizes. I'm not challenging it, I'm just asking the
Right.
question to say,
Yeah.
is there a standard that we use just for, make sure that what we're putting on our books is reasonably accurate, and we're not having a bunch of appreciation on our books, it's not.
Yep, very, very good point. I wouldn't see any advantage to, them presenting a number one way or the other, low, high. I wouldn't know. The hope is that they are presenting the number straight from there.
We want to inflate it as much as possible,
Yeah,
what they're signing over is,
But I'm not sure the engineer of record is willing to make a compromise for that, for the, I mean, they're making the decision on that, and they know that we're gonna look at it also, so they know
That's
it
right.
has to be reasonable.
they would care, but, I mean.
Who was the contractors on these projects?
the contractor is Walker Point LLC, Mr. Wayne Moxley on,
You put in the water and sewer lines.
yes, sir. Yes, sir, he did.
And how much inspection did we do?
It would have been daily inspection on the, anytime any construction was happening, we would have covered the installation with staff.
And this comes with the standard 2-year warranty, and so.
It does.
also, right.
It does. Absolutely. Let's keep them adding them up. Yes, sir. That's the way we look at it, bringing them on. So Walker Point Phase 1, 105 new connections. That's a monthly water and sewer bill.
At full build out, it's gonna be like 450, right?
It's right, yes. Yeah, and they're moving aggressively out there. So next one, and the final one is the estates at Golden Isles. Again, just up Golden Isles Parkway Extension.
Seems to be a busy area.
It is, and so this development here actually is additional growth to a phase that was started 20 years ago. So it's fill-in work. It's previously platted lots that are now being developed out. So this is adjacent street that was put in here, and this is phase 2. It's developed by Ridge Enterprises, Mr. Keith Rhodes.
Put a line on it, they don't have a lot subdivided yet.
They're working on final plat. The county just doesn't show it in GIS yet. So,
Put a line there.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So we have an easement over that whole property right now?
It's public right away.
It'll be public, platted as public right away. It'll look very similar.
The lines in the center of the street or on the edge of it?
Very similar to this one.
The lines are generally outside of pavement.
In phase 1, they were.
Honestly, don't know in phase 2 if they're under the middle of the road or if they're on the edge.
Please don't we try to put them outside the pavement, both the sewer lines and the water lines?
If there's enough right of way, we encourage developers to do that, yes.
Don't have a standard that says that? No general standards?
The preference is to be outside the, but not, there's no hard, firm,
But it says so in the standard.
yes, sir, the preference is, so it can be in the shoulder, be in the shoulder.
For places that they have plenty of property, do we not require? I mean, if they're developing new. I mean, if it, if that's, that lot's being .5 versus .44, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
We just wanna tear up new streets, fix the sewer line, just put it in.
Right, that's correct, yeah. Another reason for the hefty inspection on the top side, to make sure it's put in the ground correctly.
Right, yeah.
But you do have to be ready for any kind of settlement, anything that may happen to the new infrastructure in the future. But, yeah, we have to be diligent on the inspection.
And I would think that the person putting it is diligent, putting it in is diligent because they know they're responsible for the first 2 years anyway.
Very true.
Yeah.
I mean, occasionally you do have some things that they don't get lined up perfectly when they install and end up a section of it under a roadway that was supposed to be on the edge, just because when they came in and paved, wasn't exactly laid out. But in general, they do a good job.
We do.
Record drawings.
Correct. So you should also have those, yeah. You should also have those as part of your packet, the supporting documents. Hopefully, record drawings.
Mm-hmm. I was looking at them the other day. It's a lot of paper.
Yeah, it may be. I don't have the drawings pulled up here.
On some areas they are on, like, I'm looking at, the states of Golden Isles he was just talking about. Most of them appear to be close to the shoulder, maybe not exactly out of underneath the pavement, but right on the edge of the pavement. But that one section does jut out into the center.
Part of that person would standard to be, makes sense to me, give their space. Which in most cases, new construction, by definition, there is space. We just try not to put it on the street where we got long-term maintenance costs of keeping.
We can,
Especially with the lot we got out.
yeah. We do encourage that. We can certainly be as firm as the board desires us to be on that. Sometimes that conflicts with the developer's plans.
The developers, for the trips talking about, they already went, the line got in.
Mm-hmm.
It's line right now.
Hmm.
But the trouble is, 10 years from now, we have a road we have to pay the price.
Very true.
And then we're replacing asphalt too, versus replacing, And maybe that's the balance, maybe you say, hey, it has to be outside the roadway, you put it inside the roadway, there's a, extended warranty time or something.
Are we 6 foot right ones?
Within, if we're talking about, within here, it's gonna be the same right-of-way width.
Yeah, I would be at 40.
At 40?
So the dimensions is 40 on there. Looks like phase one was 50 foot. Yeah.
40.
What's the width of the pavement?
It's 50 foot on phase one, but I don't have the record drawings on it attached, the digital document for estates. Hopefully you guys have hard copies. Okay, that is it, and that was 39 new connections with the estates of Golden Isles. Well, 105, it's 144, 170, 188, or 183, 184 plus Kingsway. Yeah, getting close to 200 additional customers monthly.
I'll move that the Facilities Committee recommend the full commission approve and accept these projects with associated dedications and easements.
Thank you, Commissioners. Does the, will do is, if the board wants us to take a hard, you know, certainly maybe some more discussions on that. I'm sure operations will definitely give us some input on best placement, so. Yeah. Now's the time to do it, yes, sir.
Yeah, in certain areas, of course, you got areas that are heavily landscaped that sometimes the paving's less expensive than replacing the landscaping and driveways and everything else that comes associated with that. Not necessarily saying these areas are that, but there are certain areas where asphalt is cheaper than, you know, coquina shell driveways.
Thank you.
All right, good afternoon. The JWSC has been asked to extend water down Adams Drive, which is a currently unpaved road in the middle of the island, just north of the Wildlife Preserve. The JWSC plans to abandon galvanized water lines and replace them with new PVC. We have worked with the landowners somewhat painstakingly over the past about 6 months to get the easements to their liking. We have secured 4 of them, which is all the easements we need. Potentially 5 customers, I believe 5 customers will be tying on, or 4 customers will be tying on with potential for 1 more to be tying on. And they recommend, staff recommends accepting the easements.
Yeah, there was an existing galvanized main that the new customers wanted to tie onto. We wanted to get the galvanized main out of there, and we didn't have an easement over the existing galvanized main, so it was just cleaning up the whole part, put in new plastic pipes away from the galvanized and get the easements necessary.
There's a,
Anybody ties to galvanized now?
I believe there's 1 customer tied to the galvanized right now, and they'll of course be flipped over to the new line.
that's,
Yes, Derek's crews will install the line.
You mentioned the,
Yes, well, for the new customers, yes, sir. Potentially, I think up to 4 new customers on this line.
5, I think.
There's 1 existing, 1 or 2 existing. 4 new customers, right. Dead center of the island.
it's right there by that John Gilbert Fulton path.
And
Directly south of that, our road was there behind it.
there's an existing access easement already in place as well for the homeowner that's in the very back of the,
How's this different than Village Drive?
How's this different than Village Drive? This one was inside my signature authority. This one was inside my signature authority.
So there's some existing customers there?
One existing customer.
One. And they don't have to pay a tap fee
They
because
don't
they've
have to pay
already
tap
paid.
fee, we're just gonna move them to the new one.
Okay.
They've already paid back when the house was built.
And what about the tap fees on the other people? What, is there a standard, or how is that determined?
It's based off the meter size.
Okay.
So I assume some of these houses, or most of these houses are probably fine with a 5/8 by 3/4, but they may want a 1-inch meter if they have a multi-story house, for example.
Right. And then, okay, so the tap fee. Okay.
as a side note, I believe one of the customers is gonna be installing a sewer line as well.
Gravity, yeah, so low pressure sewer main back out as well.
We're putting that down the whole lane.
Well, they're
The
from
what?
they're putting it from their house back.
Across this easement.
It's the same.
Which
easement.
house is it? One number.
The one that's doing sewer is this one here.
So this is the first one.
It's just right there.
But if somebody downstream wanted to, they'd be within 500 feet of that sewer line, and they could tie in to the sewer line at that point.
So that sewer line, they're putting in there and deed over us.
Yes, because it'll, well, I don't know if they'll deed that to us, because it's not public right of way. They will,
Since it's in the easement, they'll be.
since it's in the easement, it will, yeah, come to us.
So it can be a shared one after.
So we're,
You mentioned that, we took some time to get the easements to their liking. What kind of concessions do we have to make on our easements to get them to their liking?
Really not a whole lot. I mean, nothing that we weren't okay with. There was some discussion about how much property was needed and how we were gonna describe it and things like that. And, Mr. Spate, who owns, this lot right here, is an attorney. This is his son.
also an attorney?
No, Alex is
Either
not.
way, we had multiple attorneys involved, and that's just
Okay.
gonna make it heck.
I know that.
Yeah, and,
There's several states back in there.
right, yeah, it's Alex and Dan.
Well, there's another one too.
Mm,
That first one you clicked down, put on it again, that first one. You touched on.
yeah, this is Alex, this is
That
Dan.
one, yeah, I was gonna say the one south of that's state too.
Yeah, he owns both of these.
Oh, okay. Same guy, he's got a little lot.
Yeah.
So we're getting rid of the galvanized, getting update on everything, and we're gaining some new customers.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good. It's a win-win.
Other than the paperwork side, it's a smooth little project, get customers online and get some old galvanized out of the system.
Motion?
I'll move the Facilities Committee recommend the full commission accept the Adams Road easements.
Second.
Second, any other question? We'll move to the discussion section. What production service, Board?
Yes, sir. Month of April, another strong water use month for us. One thing I will point out, you may have expected the mainland system to have substantially more water usage than previous because of the fire at Pine Nova. But when you average it out over 30 days, the increase is not as substantial as you might expect. We put somewhere between 600,000 and 800,000 gallons of water on that fire, but when you divide that over 30 days, it's relatively small total compared to the overall month. But a little over 5 million gallons of water for the month in the Brunswick district. Still working on some of the wells, ongoing work on some of the electronic systems and things like that. But all in all the wells are functioning effectively at this point. A little bit higher than where we were at this point last year on the graph behind it. So very flat usage month to month for the first 4 months of the year. Has been very dry as well, so I think we're seeing a decent amount of outdoor water usage for the last couple of months. On St. Simon's, the airport well, you'll see, did have some increased usage there. That's on the backup well for the first half of the month because we were doing work to the main well there. So when we turn that back on, the main well outruns the backup well. So we end up getting a little more water than we had the previous 2 months through the airport well. Just shy of 3 million gallons of daily usage on St. Simon's for the month. Again, a little higher than where we have been for the previous year. So Some of that is, of course, new customers, but as well, outdoor water usage probably increasing in the dry periods that we've had. And then down at the South Mainland, very consistent usage down there between 280 and 300,000 gallons a month. System's balanced very well, so the two wells that are functioning and have production capabilities now run a very similar amount of time there, and that, again, very much in line with where it has been. Slow growth in the South Mainland right now. There are some significant amounts of building going on in the South Mainland. However, a lot of those are on community well systems and not connected to our system. But making progress. The monthly report or the annual report? Well, we can give you the annual report. Mr. We could potentially look at that since our billing periods don't match up with the month, January 1st to January 31st, you can get some wonky data looking at it on a monthly basis here versus the billing period data. With the old meters, we don't have daily reads on what the usage is. So the only way to do that would be to average the usage over the 30-day period for the month, which can throw things off. I've tried to produce the report a couple of times, and inevitably you end up with some months that say that we sold more water than we produced, which obviously did not happen. And so I don't want to bring a report in here that's got junk data on it. With the new meters, we have daily reads and we have daily usage totals, and we can provide the well report versus the usage data from the new meters, and we can actually have day-to-day instead of just whole billing periods.
I was gonna say, once the new meters are in, you could have a daily usage.
I can pull up on the dashboard on Neptune 360 and tell you the usage through the new meters every day.
When's that? When's the last time you went?
Theoretically, by the end of the year, they've got about 21,700 in the ground. We got another 8,250 to go.
How do we do our water audit?
With the water audit, the annual water audit, and Dave and LaDonna are both certified water loss auditors. I think that's what that's called. There's a lot of assumptions that are built into that water audit, and so I think this year's numbers were around 17%. So is that, am I remembering that correctly?
I think that's accurate, but
Yeah.
my memory's not 100%.
Yeah.
If they're,
So we've done water audits for how many years? 2 years?
We can give you the numbers for every year. Of course, it changes year to year.
We'd like to know like what the capital water is.
Okay. I mean, that's like I said, I can give you that on the.
The meters, we'd like to see that.
Well, once we get all the meters installed, I can give you that monthly. Just the gap between usage and.
so if you did it annually though, theoretically over the course of a year, it's gonna average out.
It'll be close, right? But again, with the annual reports that you send to the state, there are a ton of assumptions built into that.
I mean, why can't we calculate total annual fiscal year sold versus annual fiscal year at the well?
We can do that. That's what I'm saying.
On an annual basis, not a monthly. I certainly understand on a monthly basis, you're off. you know,
Right. For an annual, that's what I'm saying. We can do the annual. That's no problem. I was saying if you want it monthly, you get wonky data.
Or we can do it on an annual basis each month.
Talk about a rolling 12 months.
Rolling 12 months.
I mean,
So we just see what it is.
we'll see what I can put together.
Once we got our meters, we should know really good.
Once we have all the meters installed, we can do it every day.
We're replacing water lines, putting in new water lines, putting in new meters, so hopefully on the capital.
And once you have the meters in, it's just a click, right? It's just
You
a
don't even
matter
have
of.
to click. It just
No,
says
I mean,
on
it's
the-
right in front of you,
automatically
right,
on the
yeah,
dashboard.
so.
Once we get the new meters in, is there an effort to align the months with the bills instead of having a bill?
Technically, once we get the new meters in, and this isn't necessarily something that's been discussed in a public meeting yet, you could choose which day of the month you want your bill sent out. Because you can read it whenever, because we don't have to send a guy out there in a truck to make the loop.
I was just wondering if it would make sense to have February bill be January 1st, January 31st.
Well, not everybody's pay schedule works out that way where that works for them.
Why does it matter when they pay it? They got X amount of time to pay it still.
I can give you some.
My
customers
assumption,
to talk to about that.
They want to, they.
my assumption, if we allow a customer to choose the day, the requirement is they have to have an electronic bill.
Yeah. Now, of course, like when you start your Georgia Power account, you can select the day of the month you want your bill on your Georgia Power account because they use similar type meters. Now, if we started that process with the first month, somebody's either gonna get a 35-day bill or a 40-day bill or a
Yeah.
20-day bill. So the first couple of months are gonna be a little off, but then after that, if you want your bill to be the 15th through the 15th, we could send that to you every month. It's also helpful for us, for the billing folks, not to
Be
have
overwhelmed.
that spaced out over the month
Right,
instead
to
of
be
it all done at
overwhelmed,
the same time.
but yeah.
And we didn't have any complaints with it.
We had a couple on the mainland. One of them was a dirty water complaint after we had done some flushing in the area. After the Pinova event, we had some dirty water complaints.
But how many customers we have?
To our total customers, we're at 31,500-ish.
So we got 31,000 customers, with one complaint.
Very, very consistent.
That's really
Yeah.
good.
We do, typically the complaints we get in the summertime on St. Simons are in vacant properties that people showed up at and haven't used water in 6 months.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of stagnant water in their hot water heater. And then once they use water, it goes away.
We just need to express that well, realize what it is, what our water system is, and also how inexpensive it is compared to buying.
Yes, sir. Wastewater report? Yes, sir. All right, Academy Creek for the month, 5.5 million gallons a day leaving the facility. I will say you will notice that the rainfall total was higher for the month. We had that one very wet weekend. Other than that, it was mostly dry for the month. So we handled the major rain event well, but it has also been exceedingly dry for several months. So a lot of that soaked into the ground and groundwater without necessarily getting into our system. But you see influent concentrations similar to where they've been at in the past. Effluent concentrations mostly all within permit, mostly doing well there. We did have a little bit of an issue solids-wise at the digester, not having a digester space, so we had to rectify that towards the second half of the month. So you see some additional sludge going to the landfill. We have a decant pipe situation where the decant pipe on one of the digesters has disconnected, so we couldn't decant, so we held more sludge than normal. But if you look on our graph on the next page, the usage is still lower, effluent numbers lower, even though April was much rainier than it had been the previous few months. So at Dunbar Creek, monthly discharge of 2.8 million gallons, around 70% of the capacity of the facility. Still running with one basin there, which is more than enough to handle 4 million gallons a day. So we're doing well at that facility under construction. Everything well within permit on the way out. 98% BOD removal and almost 98.5% TSS removal through the facility. Very consistently operated plant there on St. Simons Island. We are waiting on delivery of the mixer and some valves, looking like those will arrive mid-June, so theoretically by the end of June. Then we'll take down the other one, and the 14 truckloads of dirt that went in that line are probably sitting in the bottom of that basin right now.
More than likely.
And Southport, flows has been elevated for the last 3 months. I'm somewhat of the belief that is more of a metering issue than an actual substantial increase in flow for the last 3 months, because we have not added enough customers in that region to equate to 150,000 gallons a day over the last 3 months. But the plant's being operated very well by staff down there. Everything well within permit, 97.5% BOD removal, 98% TSS removal. A little bit rainier on the south end than on the mainland and south mainland for the month, which, if you pay attention month to month, tends to be the way. It seems like we get a little more rain south of the river down there. So I don't know exactly what's causing that, but that appears to be the situation. It's through partial flume. I think we got some sediment in the bottom of the flume, raising that level up. You measure the height of the water in the flume. So if there's sediment in the bottom, it raises the water level up.
Under the fluid,
Mm-hmm.
The permit limit 5, all the numbers are above that.
DO is the ones DO is a minimum.
Right, aren't we gonna mark this to kind of clearly?
Yes, I forgot to do that per your request from last month. Yes, sir. Yes, that's a minimum. The rest of, well, pH is a range, but the rest of them are maximums. DO is a minimum.
Projects, all right. Pictures.
Ready?
Click on.
Sure you want me to click?
Yeah.
Don't click it too many times. It'll get mad at you.
It will. It'll be angry. All right, Commissioners, thank you again for every month for the chance to showcase our projects in motion. We shall begin. Okay, first project to speak of is Pump Station 2002 Force Main Replacement. That's on St. Simon's Island, Arnold Road. And so in-house forces did replace that force main, that formerly cast iron force main is now abandoned, and the new PVC force main is in service. The last thing to accomplish in that was the roadway replacement, which we partnered with Glynn County and I believe just funded our portion of the roadway replacement, and Glynn County then took over management of that repaving.
Roadway replacement is
project.
ongoing, and I think they should be done, my understanding, today or tomorrow is the expectation.
Yeah.
Is that gonna be a one lane or two?
I think they're still sticking with the 2-lane road for right now.
And of course, on the right-hand side,
It's in the right travel lane, yes, sir, because the shoulder is very crowded. Yes, sir. It wasn't striped, the fixture I received, but it looks like asphalt is on the ground.
here's my question.
Right, so that was last week. They paved it this week. They started paving yesterday. May not stripe it, I don't know. But either way, the roadway should be paved this week. We get invoicing, we can get this closed out before the end of the fiscal year, hopefully.
Okay. Next project to speak about is the ARCO Area Water and Sewer Improvement Project. And this is a good overhead shot of water main installation that's going in, and the contractor has mobilized a second crew to wrap up the water. So they have 2 active crews out there, one doing gravity sewer, one doing water main installation. There's an overall of the majority of the project area of this phase of the ARCO. And we're looking forward to getting the first gravity section in service. We're very close. We're hoping to have it, be able to report at this meeting that it was open for business, but they're doing the last bit of testing, vacuum testing on the line, on the manholes, and low pressure testing on the lines. So that should be wrapping up this week, and we're hoping we have people beating our doors down to tie on next week. So there is a lot of need out there with on-site septic systems.
How many new water line customers do we have out there? The water line's finished, right?
Water lines are, installation is not complete yet.
About 80% done with the water
About
lines.
80%.
Do we have any new customers up there on the water lines yet?
I don't believe we have any new ones tied on yet. No new ones tied on yet.
But over 90% of that area already was on the water system.
Yeah.
I think most of the water system the areas that are getting access to water are currently vacant lots, the vast majority of those.
So sewer, have you had anybody that pleased?
Not yet, but we do have somebody that's very interested in tying on several lots.
Okay, next project is in-house galvanized replacements, system-wide, water distribution performs that. You may recognize Mr. Alvin Hall here, supervisor. He also was featured on the front page of the local newspaper.
Doing a galvanized replacement unexpectedly.
But you could only see his top half of his upper torso there because he was down in the hole with about 25 feet of water spraying above him. So that's a good shot of there, of what comes out of the ground, the old material being replaced with new PVC. Patrick Lamano showcasing a little section that came out there, showing typical finds that they have. A lot of buried valves like that you'll find as well.
How many people are on this crew that do this?
There's a standard water distribution crew has 3 people on it, and we usually have at least 1 crew, if not 2, working on galvanized replacements.
I would,
Actually, moving the galvanized line.
Depends on the situation.
so do we call them the G team? We should.
We do not have that nickname for them yet, no sir, but maybe we should start that.
I think we should call them that. They seem to be having a good time doing it. So.
They, yeah, yesterday, if you saw the front page of the Brunswick News and the picture Todd was talking about, there was a 2-inch galvanized tap that failed off of an 8-inch
Right.
cast iron line, and it was spraying quite highly in the air.
Who took the picture?
The newspaper.
Really?
I got a call from the newspaper wondering what was going on Union and whatever the
Yeah.
cross street was, Second, I think it
Second,
was. I don't know, and I called Derek, and he goes, yeah, it failed, and it's blowing water everywhere down there.
I saw it this morning.
But
yeah,
fixing it under pressure like that means you don't have to put out a boil water advisory.
That's a good point, good point.
We're still looking at doing high visibility uniforms instead of, having just
They have the option to see if you scroll down, like Mr. Lamano there's got the high visibility shirts on. If you don't wear the high visibility shirt and you're in the roadway, you're supposed to be wearing a high visibility vest.
one from a safety perspective, if in the roadway should be the standard, or we shouldn't, working on the side of the road, you could get hit too, and somebody turn the curve, somebody running off the road, especially with, just my opinion, with all this activity that goes on the work site, if everybody's high visibility, it just makes sense to me.
The bulk of the field crews have elected to go to the high visibility shirts because you think a mesh vest is not going to increase your temperature very much, but they do make it much warmer out there on you.
I guess, my thing is, why are we allowing people to make uniform choices? The uniform we're buying, right? And we're buying these uniforms, why would we not just say our standard is high visibility for your safety? Can't imagine people giving that much pushback. In my opinion, that's what I'm used to, most construction companies have high visibility uniforms as their standard now, that way you don't have to put a vest on or something. You can still, if you wanna reflect the vest, you can still choose to go above that, but, a lot of them, wear bright orange, bright pink, bright yellow, high visibility outfit, not asphalt colored shirts. In construction of all types, my opinion, it ought to be a safety standard.
Well, no one is wearing asphalt colored shirts anymore. I assure you.
It's navy, it
Look
looks,
at the first
it
picture.
looks great in the picture, but it's navy.
That's a Navy shirt.
Well, my point is, it's blends on asphalt. Anyhow, to me, if we as an organization are saying safety is our standard, and we care about our team members, and we care about their safety, and we do, why allow them to make a uniform for us that we're paying for that is counterintuitive with that?
Well-
If we can agree that high visibility is safer,
They're required to wear the high visibility even if they don't wear the high visibility shirt.
well, then we're setting up for human error. We're setting it up for somebody to not follow a rule. If we agree that high visibility is safer than non-high visibility,
Have we had a lot of injuries or incidents as a result of lack of?
We have not, but there's always a potential.
we have had safety incidents. So we're adopting a culture of safety. Why would we give it options? Y'all disagree, tell me.
We did a uniform thing about 3 years before you.
Mhm.
How do you change that?
We were renting uniforms from Centos and having them launder. We purchase uniforms now, and the laundering is on the employee's responsibility. And you're categorized as one of 3 categories of employee. If category 1 is the bulk of the field crews, they can wear the high visibility T-shirts, or they can just get standard gray T-shirts, but they have to wear the high visibility vest if they're out in the field. So most of them have elected to go to the high visibility T-shirts. Category 2 would be more field supervisor type positions, and they're required to wear collared shirts as a supervisor. And so Alvin is a supervisor, which is why he's got a collared shirt on.
Yeah, this isn't about Alvin. It's just the picture just reminded me, but and I'm not saying he's doing anything safer than any of these individuals are. I just would argue that by definition, high visibility is safer than non-high visibility. In my experience, most big construction companies, most places that, work beside the road or beside heavy equipment, is not as visible. Maybe it's highly visible, but not as highly visible as an orange shirt. So most places have just said, as a true culture of safety, we're driving to, be preoccupied with failure and be preoccupied with, events that could happen, not wait on an event to happen, then decide it's an issue. But if we, and to me, working in tight quarters around equipment and stuff like that puts our team members at risk. I mean, and if we've got standards that we're saying we want you at this type of shirt because you're at this level, and, and it puts in safety, greater safety risk, I would just prefer to take care of everybody and be highly visible.
I have a question. Andrew, when the uniform replacement cycle comes up, can you make that decision as the director? What you feel is the most safe?
We'd have to update the uniform policy, which I could bring back to you to do that.
Right.
I think, like I said, I think the vast majority of the field crews do elect to wear the high visibility
Right.
shirts because they don't want to wear the vest.
But by definition, the vast majority of people do, and it's only a few that have elected not to, for whatever reason. I mean, I can't imagine them having that big of an employee dissatisfier with being highly visible. But even if they are, for their safety, and if the majority of them are doing it, what would it hurt for the few extra to just say, we want to be safe too? That's just my stance.
Can you make a presentation on this next?
Sure.
Especially if we're buying.
Okay.
All right. All right, thank you. Okay, next project to talk about is meter replacements. Year 1 and 2, and we're in progress. So first picture here, I believe he's actually the man with M&E, right? Mr.
One of the
Maddox Ellis?
one of the owners of
Oh, so he's not M&E, he's one of the M&E, okay. So Mr. Ellis there showcasing one of the tops there being pre-cut, and then again, one of the crew members down here working.
You will notice that they found a meter that was not reading previously, wasn't even in the system, so the customer had been benefiting from use of our services without paying for several years, so they've now got a bill coming their way.
Were there 2 meters up there?
They were, yes, sir. I mean, we're not finding hundreds of these, so, I mean, we found a handful here or there.
Were we reading that meter?
No.
Or was it buried on here?
Well, the berry didn't have anything to do with it wasn't reading, it wasn't in the system, so the system didn't know to actually pick up a reading from that meter. And surprisingly, the customer never called and wanted to know why he wasn't paying for it. Never called and asked why he was paying for the water, and I don't blame him, I'm not saying I would have either. Exactly.
Might get a leak call next, when their bill comes back. Anyway, continuous improvement. Okay, Dunbar Creek Water Pollution Control Facility rehab.
Yeah, and that middle picture there, you see the diffusers going in across. The diffusers are now almost completely installed. There will be an area in the center of that there will not be diffusers, and there needs to be a mixer installed so we can put that online. But on the bottom pictures, you can see the work ongoing for the installation of the UV and filter systems. They're having to pour some walls and form up the bottom a little bit to get the hydraulics where they need it to be at. So that work's been ongoing for a better part of a month now, and electrical installation of conduit and things have been ongoing for several weeks as well.
On that bottom left picture there, just to highlight one more time, even that guy who's in that yellow there, I mean, and it's very small with respect to this photo, that yellow just pops. So he's not roadway, he's not doing anything that would require high visibility by our standard if it's a roadway standard.
Right.
I mean, crane swinging overhead or anything, you see that guy in that yellow versus that guy in blue that's standing up against that blue wall. And I was looking at it for a second before he popped out at me. I just firmly believe that high visibility stuff has a direct safety impact, and we're gonna truly have a directive of a culture of safety, and tell our team members we believe in their safety. We ought to,
Who's the guy blue?
That's one of Robbie. That's one of BRW's guys.
yeah, I'm just using the colors as a reference.
Yeah.
Like, look how that yellow jumps out, even when it's in the smaller perspective of the photo. Crane swinging overhead, backing dump truck up, anything, they see that.
The photographs are very impressive. I mean, they really give you the perspective on what's going on too.
Mr. Vo gets the vast majority of these photographs as he's going around checking on all of our capital projects. So
Okay.
he kind of runs a circuit of every ongoing capital project we have, taking photos and checking in with staff because almost 100% of his time is devoted to being out in the field checking on projects.
Is that the verb droning?
Some of that is done with droning.
Droning,
yeah.
that's the verb, right?
Top picture, over down to the right,
Mm-hmm.
where the truck is, on the other side, that's owned by the county.
That is owned by the county, yes, sir.
And there's some talk about swapping that.
Yes, sir. The county and DNR are working right now. They want to, where the trees where Mr. Klein is pointing right now, they're discussing putting in a kayak launch right there. And in preliminary discussions with the county staff, there may be some consideration of swapping the treed property for the kayaks for at least a portion of that lot adjacent to ours, where that's currently being used as a debris storage area for the county.
And the road, we've already approved the road coming,
Yes, sir.
Is that land we're talking about swapping, is that strategic land for us in the future? The reason I asked that, would it be better instead of swapping the land and giving it up long-term, would it be better just to give them an easement to use it for whatever purpose they deem, you know, with understanding that if it ever had to be used for expansion?
Well, the ongoing discussion is a lease, low-dollar lease program for them to utilize the property for the time being. But what I've been clear with them is there would have to be a, if we need the property, you've got to get out clause on that property, so.
Well, that's
Would we
exactly
still
what
be liable if someone had heard?
That's why Charlie's getting on that word into the lease.
Well, that's why I was recommending doing
Yeah.
leases. I thought it said swap, like.
Right, yeah, so essentially we would have use of that property adjacent right there, cause as you know, open space on St. Simon's is at a premium, and having a little more area to store materials for projects and stuff is a tremendous benefit to us.
Right now, we have a MOU that's been circulated amongst the three parties. Was that?
The county discussed it yesterday at their special call meeting.
And once that's approved by all three parties, then we'll start working on the lease.
DNR. It's a DNR grant program that they use to put in the kayak launch. I will say for anybody that uses that kayak launch, there is a huge alligator that lives right there, so I would be on the lookout.
And this is not something that's gonna, is right around the corner. This is the DNR involved, it's gonna take a while.
And I have outlined that, we may want to put up some sort of more sturdy fencing, not just for security, but for not having the view of the wastewater plant adjacent to their kayak launch and stuff like that. That would be part of the county's project.
See the access road we got on the right hand, between the road and the creek. Now just, there's no continuation of it all now.
Not currently, no, sir.
Coming south, there's no way we could get over to see on the road, because you know, look like it is.
Not without filling in that pond.
County commission talked about us about maybe having a local subdivision.
I personally would recommend against having increased traffic through that area, just because of the amount of liabilities associated with them being right there by a wastewater plant, if something were to go wrong. Because if you brought somebody down that road, for example, right there by the new filters in the UV system, and somebody does something really stupid,
What about for like emergency vehicles or something like that?
the new roadway improvements could potentially be used to help with that, but we're not paving everything in the facility, so it is dirt still inside the facility. Are getting pricing on the third layer. Yeah, the project's moving smoothly right now. There's a situation where they were in hurry up and wait mode for large pieces of equipment to arrive, and then the diffusers, the filters, and the UV equipment all arrived within 2.5 weeks of each other. So now it looks like they got a bunch of stuff sitting around and they're way behind schedule, it's just because it all showed up at one time. The UV system showed up a month early, which I still hadn't figured out. I think they sent us somebody else's, but we're keeping it.
Make it work.
We already have another change order on this.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, next project is are elevated storage tanks rehab, 2 of those tanks, one at Glen Place Mall and the other one on St. Simon's at Oglethorpe. So the one you see here is Glen Place, and you can see one of our brand new logos here, and the college logo is going to happen here shortly on the opposite side of that tank. That's the inside. If you've never been inside an elevated storage tank, this is a pedestal style, or pedosphere. That's what it looks like inside with the valving. A lot of folks don't know the water goes in and out the same pipe to the system. Little fun fact. This is a shot looking up there with the drapes hanging down. Always feel kind of funny. Get in that picture.
That thing looked very weird.
Blowing in the wind. So that's our container, the contractor's containment system to keep all their abrasive blast, which is just a Black Beauty. It's a non-silicon based abrasive, and then also their any paint spray or anything that could possibly come off site, keeps it on site. There is, looking from Lawrence Road north, or facing south actually, at the Oglethorpe tank, you can see the drape over that one there too, the shielding on it, looking over the stables property. So the idea is we're gonna have our logo on this side here, and then also 180 degrees on the opposite side as well. So a little bit of visibility from Lawrence Road, but that storage tank was, by design when it was built, put inconspicuously back off the road. All right. Crispin Boulevard, Highway 341. If you've been headed north on 341, headed out of town or towards Sterling, you've probably noticed a set of steel plates in the roadway right at the Crispin intersection. That is due to a segment of gravity sewer that developed a failure several months ago. It stabilized. Operations was going to do the repair themselves in-house, but then again, last month, I believe it was, that the board actually approved award to Popco, our contractor, to come in and repair this for us, along with their subcontractor, Bionomics, to hopefully do this as a trenchless repair, mostly trenchless repair. So we just had a project planning meeting yesterday with them on site, with all the stakeholders involved, us, our contractor, as well as DOT, who is a huge part of this project, and it being a success, and then Glynn County was there also. So the first step of this is developing the bypass plan and then permitting the traffic control, and that's what's in process right now. We expect probably within 2 weeks to have that in hand. It's not going to be an easy job. The first step is dewatering, and then they're going to soil injection grout here to stabilize the soil over the collapse. And once that's done, Bionomics is going to go in trenchlessly after all the bypassing is done and try to do the repair trenchlessly, slip line the whole line. Once that's done, they're then going to go in and fully rehab both manholes on either side. So, as with a lot of things these days, materials, there's long lead times and whatnot. The timing in this is going to be very critical. It's going to be a summer job. Glynn County and DOT both voiced their desire to do this after school is out for the summer. So that gives us a little time to get the permitting in motion and approved, bypassing as well. And just the liner alone, according to the contractor, is about a 3 to 4 week lead time on materials. So a lot of decisions to be made here in the next couple of weeks on what we're going to do. Likely should be prepared at least for worst, so to speak. Get the liner on order and that kind of thing, have everybody situated. So what is it going to look like out there when it's under construction? Crispin Boulevard, this area is going to be detoured. This will be both lanes here will be shut down in this intersection. Here, bring up GIS, help talk about it. Well, here we go. That kind of gives you a little better shot. So Jay's Fish is right here. This is Crispin Boulevard, and Winn-Dixie over this direction. Here's our plates. So, likely gonna shut Crispin here, from here to the intersection. This lane right here is gonna be shut down as well, so there'll be a lane shift over, or actually a lane closure over this way to allow northbound traffic to continue. There won't be any kind of detour through the Winn-Dixie shopping center, anything like that. It'll actually be detoured back at Old Jessup. So, access will still be available for whomever to the shopping centers and other businesses, to the bank here. They have another access here. Access be maintained. It's just a difficult job. The bypass alone, we're gonna have to, this is the segment of gravity sewer here that's defective. We're gonna have to bypass past this manhole and get to the next one, which is in front of the Sonny's business. Sonny's right here. There's a manhole out in the asphalt out here. And you wonder, man, like what was talked about before, why do you put gravity sewer in the middle of a highway? Well, I believe that the gravity sewer was there before the highway expanded in this case. So, it's not ideal where it is, but it is what it is.
I think we spoke last month about this. This is one of the more challenging segments in the system to have to work on just because of the location.
Can y'all safely do it with only one lane before the one closed? Yeah, it looks tight, I mean.
It's very tight.
It just looks like you're.
It's right on the edge.
Looks like the plate extends to the second lane. Look at the picture above.
I will say, do keep in mind that the plates are not directly above the pipe.
Sure.
Yeah, it's gonna overhang.
We did.
When they get in there and start digging though, that's one of the topics we were really hammered on, is getting that or that creep, you know.
How deep is it?
That's,
15, 16
yeah,
feet.
So you're going to put in excavation, whatever it's called, protection.
trench shoring, everything,
Shoring,
correct, yeah. And they're gonna, the plan right now, DOT's fine with this being a DOT highway, is we're gonna put flowable fill back in there, so it's just, you know, I don't think anybody's gonna ever need to go back in this area. Low strength concrete, so it's a quicker set, not so worried about compacting layers of soil upwards, and a lot faster finish to get traffic back on it. So, but complicating this, what you can't see in this picture is all the underground. There's a gas main runs right here, there's two 36-inch storm drains across here, a 12-inch water main that goes right here. There's a lot of other good stuff right in the way, you know, that's just the way it is. So, traffic loops, DOT's traffic signal loops are in there. But anyhow, so we got a good contractor on deck to do this. They're well engaged and have high hopes for this one here.
What was the value of it?
700.
680, I think. Substantially more expensive than the
Yes, sir.
than the amount of pipe that we typically would see for that amount of money, but with the location. It swayed quite a few people to tell us they didn't want to do the work. Right.
That was last month. Okay. All right, so that's the end of the pictures. And then we're down to,
Pump station 4044 rehab, or we call it rehab, but it's a relocation more than a
Relocation.
rehab.
brand new station.
Brand new station is out for bid. Those are due back the week after the 4th of July. With the 30-day window would have put us, no, so that should be going out for bid soon. 4044 is on Altamont Connector. That one is out for bid. Like I said, with the 30 days requirements, that puts us at the end of June. So it was gonna have to be awarded at the July meeting either way, so we just gave people more time to take a look at the job and make sure we got good participation in that. And obviously, we don't wanna have a bid due the week of the 4th. So they're due the next week after that. So like you were talking about, the Highway 17 North Pump Station is, design is complete and nearing advertisement. Pump Station 3101, 4001, and 4002. The rebid of that is very near completion. And then the 4002 CIPP project. We went through videos, got the videos together for the segments we're going to do. We're making maps internally now to identify those segments for the contractor. So we try to space them out, and as tends to happen, they all get bunched up together again on us. So a lot of work, should be 3 to 4 months based off these projects. The RAS and UV improvements should also be out for bid sometime end of June into July. We were notified yesterday, and a bit of good news on the grant we received to put in the UV system. They, without asking, awarded us a 10% contingency on that project to add to our total, so an extra $190,000 towards that project will be very helpful. So I gladly accepted that and added it to the account.
Wonderful.
So,
Good news. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
we're still renting the generators for the time being because our delivery was kicked back to the end of the season. The cables, we're still looking into that as far as what that's gonna take, to get that in. And then luckily, we're not gonna have to pay the delivery charge because we already had 3 of them on site, for another situation. Right, we're getting all the stuff together to buy the cables right now, yes, sir. So, we won't have to pay the delivery charge but for 2 of them because 3 of them are sitting in Academy Creek right now anyway.
That's good. Yeah, coming from far away, aren't they?
They're spread out across the state. I
Yeah.
don't know exactly where the other 2 will be coming from.
No, none for me. I'll make a motion to adjourn.